voter, which means that I prioritize civil liberties when I vote.
Yeah, 100% rating against the
So what I want to know is, as president, would you commit to cutting the prison population overall, and specifically the federal prison population, in half, which would be still twice what it was in 1997? And if so, how would you accomplish this?
Good question. Let's get a few things, and it's a very good question. Let's get a few things straight. The fact of the matter is, of 100 prisoners behind bars, 93 are in state prisons. They're not in federal prisons. That's number one. When we were vice president, I was proud to stand with the president when he reduced the prison population in federal prisons by 3,800. Number two. Number three, the idea that we are in a situation where we should not be putting anybody in prison for misdemeanors, which we're not at the federal level, and we should not be putting people in prisons for drug offenses if, in fact, for example, when I wrote the crime bill, which you've been conditioned to say is a bad bill, there's only one bill, only one provision in there that had to do with mandatory sentences that I opposed, and that was a thing called the 3 strikes and you're out, which I thought was a mistake, but it had a lot of other good things in the bill, which I'll get to in a second. But here's the deal. The fact of the matter is that I set up, when I wrote the crime bill, drug courts. So instead of putting people who have not committed a violent crime but are either addicted and you know what the opioid crisis is here, we should be putting people through drug courts into treatment, and it's in fact reduces crime even more than and I proposed we got it passed and proposed $400 million for drug courts. When we lost the election in 2000, along came and the Republicans wouldn't support that 50. They put $50 million in the drug courts, and they basically went away. When in fact the exact opposite should be happening. Here's the deal, folks. There are some circumstances in which people should be behind bars because, in fact, they have committed a heinous crime and they remain a threat to society. But to arbitrarily say, I'm just going to make a commitment, I will cut arbitrarily in half, or by a third or by 90%, is not a rational way of going about it. The rational way to go about it is to make sure you're not putting people in jail who in fact have not committed violent crimes. You should put them in work programs. You should put them in positions where they are on probation, etc. And secondly, what we should be doing is not putting people in jail for crimes that in fact are on the books that really even shouldn't be in the books, in my view. And so, when you go through it all, it's too much to go into more detail, but you make a really good point, kiddo. The fact of the matter is, the single most important thing we can do is make sure that the civil liberties portions of our administration of justice are in fact adhered to. That's why, for example, we should make sure, and I know people get mad at me, I used to be a public defender, we should make sure that the Legal Aid Society is fully funded. We should make sure that the Federal Defender's Office is fully funded. We should make sure that everyone has representation that is out there. We should make sure, and I got 2 great judges in here, but we should make sure that if in fact someone is put on trial for a crime that could end up with a major sentence or life imprisonment because it was a capital offense, by the way, congratulations to you all ending the death penalty.